What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is your host, the Kraken. Welcome to the Kraken Kingdom and the Hobbiton Homeowners Association. And today we're going to be going over the Season 6 ring. And let's get a little bit of ominous bubbling going on first. Everything starts with a good bubble. We all know, we are all aware of. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk today about, we got lots of ominous bubbling happening here. We're going to talk about the ring in Season 6. It's a completely different ring setup, and I want to kind of go through it a little bit, focus on what's good for early game, what's good for mid game, what's good for late game, and kind of go from there. It is unfortunate we couldn't design our own ring. I know a lot of us like to design the ring, make sure we're allocating the buffs that we get. Of course, if you aren't aware, with the old ring system, you could pick your ring type, exquisite, gem color, if it's ornate or not, and those different things gave you two different buffs, whether it was like troop HP or commander focus damage, things like that. And of course, now this one is gone. It's completely new. So we'll start with the first one you unlock. So it's going to be this all-purpose category, and then you'll unlock the resource category next. And then growth category third, and then expansion comes at level 50. I believe it starts here, level 20, level 30, and level 50. Maybe level 30, level 40, level 50, something along those lines. But let's go ahead and jump into the all-purpose. Now this is where you start. Dominance, the original trait of the ring, shows up right in here, and of course, that's obviously going to be one of the more important things for you to get. Anytime you get a point that can go into this, drop it into there, always. Regardless of what phase of the game you're in, that's going to be really important. Now, there's some new abilities that weren't there before. Conversion's a new one. So for 10 ability points, you can basically hire people off the map, regardless of what side it comes from. You can pick a mob, and when it'll send them back to your establishment, your kingdom establishment. I'm sorry, your castle establishment, and you'll end up with a certain number of command of that unit. I'm not sure really how they figured out what the different commands are of each, but it seems that the higher level it is, the more command of that unit you get, the more actual raw units you get. So we may do a little bit of playing with that on like just a Season 6 raw server just to see what it looks like, but for right now, that's just kind of all I know about that. Now, persuasion. This is going to be basically you can use your other commanders. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but it does give us the option to get into the morale, which will let you mix, evil side units with good side units without taking the 10% penalty that is there for they reduce the damage by 10%, which is wild. So putting points into here later in the game for sure going to be really important for you. Early in the game, you'll find that because you haven't unlocked the other trees here, the resource tree, or any of these other trees, that you just have to put points somewhere. So early game, you probably end up putting them in here just so you can use the starting units that are given to you. You do start with both good man and evil. Now extract is a new one here. It's a single infusion. It costs 3 ability points. It's a single infusion from your ring powers. You pick on a tile. Let's just show you here real quick. Let's say I wanted to take this 300 tile here. I can use the ring power to extract, and it'll give me a single instance immediately. I don't have to wait for the gathering, but a single instance of this much of that resource, and that's based on the different tiers of the tile that you've got. Of course, you can do it on any pile, 10 power tile or higher. Basically anything that's not just grassland or dirt. So that's pretty interesting, and it's kind of useful if you're in a pinch. You will get more efficient use of your resource gathering by doing the actual gathering, but you don't actually have access to gathering until down here. I'm sorry, over here in the resource category. Next one is time out of time. Now this is kind of, for me, it's just a little buffer thing. You don't really probably ever need to use this, but what it lets you do is you spend a single ability point, and anything that's currently at 10 minutes or less, for construction specifically, not for any kind of other things, specifically construction, you can speed up to 10 minutes of the last remaining bit of time That's key there. You can't just like take 10 minutes off of something for a single point. It's only if there is 10 minutes or less of remaining time to finish constructing. So I don't see any possible use for this whatsoever, other than maybe the very, very beginning of the game if you're just trying to jump through and get those quick things done. But a lot of times the people that are going to do that probably just have gems anyway and can hurry the construction. Now these both link over here to the classics Abundant Might and Abundant Wisdom. Your standard 1% increases, you can get a total of plus 10% of each. These are very much mid to late game categories. I don't see any reason why you would have them early on unless you just need to put points somewhere. So that's kind of the early game focus in that all-purpose category. Again, make sure, of course, you're still in dominance as often as you can. Like I got one coming up in 5 levels here. Let's jump over to the resource tab. Now in the resource tab, you've got the classic ability points increase, the enormous power. It's now its own base category here. So as soon as you can, of course, always good to have those ability points. Everything in the game just gets easier when you have more ability points. Now there's a new ability called Midas Touch, which lets you turn stone into gold at a rate of triple your taxing. So for example, if I was to use that ability, now I haven't unlocked it, I don't think it's that relevant in early game, mid game, and late game for sure. I'll probably use that a bit, but for example, my tax rate, I'm only getting 8,000 gold right now on my taxes, so I'd get 24,000 stone. So I'm not really seeing too much benefit to that one at this time, but I do think that it is a secret little thing that could be of use when you're trying to upgrade your units. Make sure that you're staying viable in PvP. So gathering is, of course, in this one. Gather is just a single instance of a point, just a single point to put into here. And again, it just works the exact same as gathering did before. You can send your armies. I'll use this one again. Ring, gather. It's a single ability point, and you can just pick one and load them up. And you can see that even if I did, let's say 3 ability points, just so you can see the math. So this is, if I was to use the extract, I get 63,000. If I use just the same amount of ability points but using the gather function, I end up with 84,000 on the same tile. So it is more efficient for you to use gather over extract, but extract maybe in a certain circumstance where you just need the last little bit to finish a upgrade or train a couple troops. You know, maybe it comes in handy. And let's see. So next on here we have our classic abundance. I have never in any season I've ever played put a single point into these. Well, I take that back. I have, but the difference is so minimal. My advice is just avoid these 4 right here. If anything, your grain production, but honestly, between sweeping and just taking tiles, you probably will never need to have this. It's such a small increase that you get for a lot of investment. You have to put in tons of points to make it even viable. Because you're looking at a single percent each. 10% even there is not that great. Now clairvoyance, this is the last one in this category, and this is the newest and most awesome ability that I think we have on the ring, period. Clairvoyance lets us look at the first 2 armies on a tile, so we get information and intel on a tile. Let's go ahead and check this out. We'll use this real quick. Let me go over to, I think some of our enemies might be coming in this direction. You can't use it on a castle, but let's just say right here, let's say I want to know what this is. I'm going to use this, and oh, enemy land in tiles. That is an enemy land tile. Maybe it's just because it's still fresh they captured it. I'm not sure. Right over here. Okay. Bunch of little enemies. Here's one with 2. Huh. Didn't explain that to you. I've used it before. It is useful. Also, if you want to, like, say, check the first couple tiles, couple things on a tile. If I wanted to take, if I didn't already own this, I could use the ring power to scout what the 2 armies that are sitting on this 300 are, for example. So there's a lot of benefit to the clairvoyance mechanic. I think it's huge. I obviously don't know the specifics of how you and where you can use it, because I've used it other parts of the map and it worked just fine, but perhaps since another kingdom owns that area, we're not able to use it there. That may be, not sure. Let's move into that 3rd category. This is the growth category. This is where your classic stamina increase comes in. Now there is some interesting things with this. The stamina increase is still 30, but you cannot reduce the stamina that it takes to sweep anymore. That doesn't exist. Stamina will always be 20 that you use to sweep now. So that is kind of a bummer. I know a lot of people were using that before to get their commanders leveled up quickly. When you get it to 10 stamina and you just send it out, you got 15 uses of sweeping, and that's a significant experience increase as opposed to being able to do half as many. So actually slightly less than half as many, because you can only use 140 stamina because you have to wait for 10 more stamina. 150 is the max. Now Mind Sharpener. Now this is what replaced mock battling, and it is far superior in every single way. And 3 reasons why. Number 1, you can do it on multiple tiles at the same time. If you have a couple 200, 230s, 260s, 300 power tiles, and you want to level up a couple commanders at once, and you have the ability points and food stocked up, you can do that. Before, you could only do 1 mock battle, and that was it. So this is definitely better in that regard. Number 2, it provides more experience than what you used to get. And then number 3, it takes less food. So you don't have to put in points to put in for extra things. So for example, if I want to do a mock battle, a mind sharpening on this 300 power tile, click on my ring and mind sharpener. Now it's a single ability point before, but with your maximum bonuses, which we'll look at the ring in just a second, each point is giving you 105,000 experience. And you could run that all the way up and get 7 of them. So you're sitting here looking at 735,000 experience per junk. That is fantastic. And it only takes 7 ability points to do that. And you can do that more than once. So it is great. I am a huge fan of that. And I don't know why I clicked that. But let's get into the experience gains. So you get a 100% experience gain on this. So it's literally doubling you. You do this. So it starts off with just, for example, on 300, it's a base 50,000 experience per ability point. With this, it gives you another 50,000 per ability point when you have it maxed out. And this will give you 10% over here extra, so 55,000 per ability point. So you get 105,000 per ability point on a 300 power tile with these 3 over here. Other things that are listed in here, you have the powerful sweeping, which can be good if you're using that, for example, especially if you're on good side and using your sweepings, or if you're taking tiles. I know good side tends to take some losses. Evil does as well. It's a little different on each side. We'll probably put a video out about that at some point, but powerful sweeping is one that I never use. I never used it on the old ring. I'm not using it here. I don't see a benefit to it unless you're really low on troops. But I just think points are better spent elsewhere, such as base categories, getting that extra EXP. Now, also note that this is just in general, you get 10% boost on your experience. It's not just for your mind sharpening. It's for sweeping, it's for tile taking, it's for PvP, it's all of it. And then urgent support. This is a new one here. It lets you speed up a march instance of moving something to a fort, which can be handy if you've got some forts near the front lines and the enemy decides to do a sneak attack on you. Well, somebody calls out in Discord or in the game and they say, hey, we've got an enemy showing up. Need everyone to show up. Boom, you can spend this. I believe it is 3 ability points, and you can get to your fort rather quickly. It's almost like a quick march to your fort. And last but not least, our 4th category is going to be the one that opens up at level 50. This is expansion. Now, this is one of the things that people are really having a big problem with, is Long March is locked behind ring level 50. Cannot Long March do you have ring power 50. That is the #1 complaint I'm seeing about this. Same thing with quick marches. You can't do those until you're level 50. And what's even more of a bummer is you can only have 10 forts. That's it. No more than 10 forts. You can take ruins, you can use warband fortresses, fellowship fortresses. They don't have kingdom fortresses. I don't quite understand that. I imagine they might re-look at that the next example of Season 6 content. But for right now, you get 10 forts. And so you have to actually drop your first point into getting extra durability on your forts before you can even open up some of these other options. You do still have the option of your conscription hiring time. I'm a huge fan of this. I like to be able to get back into the fray quickly, so I put my points into there. I don't really ever quick march, so I don't really use that. Later in the season, late game, I'll absolutely be using this quite frequently. It's great for making sure that you hit the tile first, or if you're trying to snipe someone off of a tile. Fantastic. You guys all know what quick march does. I don't need to go into that. Now, fort logistics, this is what they're sort of trying to make up for the lack of having additional forts. Since you can only have 10 forts, you can take a fort and increase its march range to 70 tiles instead of the base 50. It is a little bit of an increase. I think overall, though, most of us are disappointed with the new fort mechanics. And unfortunately, that's just how it is. There is a Discord submission in the official Discord to increase the number of forts back to having another, maybe even just putting one right here off of fort logistics that allows you to increase your fort count. But as of right now, it doesn't exist. And Abundant Alacrity, the skill nobody ever uses, that is in fact here, and we don't actually have to put any points into it anymore to unlock our ability points or our stamina like we used to. So that is fantastic. No points ever. I will never use that. It doesn't make any sense. 10% march speed bonus is not going to get you there really that much quicker. If I just have an exorbitant amount of extra ring points, maybe I'll consider it, but really that's kind of the goal there. I think late game you want to make sure you get some of this morale, because you'll probably be mixing Swan Knights and evil units, or you might be mixing chariots or Mumakil or whatever it happens to be into your armies. And so that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the video. We have everything we needed to know about the ring powers. The next video we're going to be putting out, we've got a few coming up here. We're going to be talking about Sauron, a couple different builds for Sauron. We're going to be talking about Shadow, a couple builds for Shadow. And we're going to be talking about the new kingdom mechanics. You know, so we have this tab here. It says Kingdom. It's mysterious. And we're going to take a look at that in a future video. But for now, that's everything I have for you guys. If you guys like this content, if you thought it was useful and helpful, please leave me a comment below. Tell me what was important to you. Or maybe if you didn't like it, make sure you let me know how I can do this a little bit better. I'm still new at the YouTube thing, so I appreciate all of the feedback. I appreciate all the community and the love that's been outpouring for me, and some of the support that's just been provided. So again, likes, comments, shares, subscribes, anything like that, you're helping a Kraken out. And as always, ominous bubbling. Kraken.